right now, we're going to talk about what's going on beyond the four corners of a football pitch. There is a lot of work done to enhance fan engagement, which requires three pillars: data, dollars, and also devotion to task. We will talk about this in the next panel session, and in a few seconds, we will have on stage Antonio de la Rosa Breva, VP Attractions and Events Legends, International Legends. Also, Leisha, MacDonald, Market Development and Business Strategy, Sports Entertainment, Moment Factory. Also, we will have on stage Nirav Patel, Group CEO, Andaria, Xavier Sanchez, Commercial Director, Rayados de Monterrey, and the moderator of this next panel session, Mayur, Bhanji, Chief Communication Officer, RAIOLA. I think they're all ready, so please give a round of applause for all of them. Recibimos con un fuerte aplauso a los ponentes de este siguiente panel. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Welcome. Mayur, Bhanji, all yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So far apart.
Hello, everyone. This is a really fascinating session on data, dollars, and devolution. Talk about fan experiences. I've got a great panel of guests with me to delve into all of those details and all the insights and information on how fan behavior is changing. You've got all the names there, so we'll crack straight on. I guess an easy question to start off with, really, and I'll start with you, Antonio. You can work our way back.
Sure.
What does fan experience mean to you and your company?
Yeah, I mean, for us, fan experience is really the center of the show. Really, is what we need to deliver. At Legends, really, and this is the reason we are here, we are a company that delivers premium experiences around games and entertainment, trying to connect with all the senses of the fan. That means how they feel, how they see, what they see, how what they touch, what they eat, everything that has to do around games. This is what we try to deliver. So for us, it's critical understanding this fan experience. What is the journey in the experience? That is not only watching the game; it's also what is happening around the game. How we can deliver better things, more meaningful things, especially, and probably this is something that we will touch later on the new generations. How we are going to connect with the new generations that really are demanding and eager for more content.
To you, Leisha.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Leisha. Nice to see everybody. So Moment Factory is a global multimedia studio. So we build entertainment experiences using all of the forms of multimedia and technology. Storytelling and then the blend of storytelling within and using technology at the same time is very, very important to us. When it comes to the fan experience, however, it's not just about us telling the story. Yes, it's a huge part of it, but for us, it's a two-way conversation. It's always a two-way conversation. So in order to really amplify the fan experience, we need to give the fans something to participate in, some way to create the experience. And so that's really what's the important part for us as it relates to fan experience.
Nirav?
Sure. I think a really interesting place to start is going with a bit of a tagline, which is, there's nothing more tribal than a sports fan. And the reason why that's an interesting hook from an Andaria point of view is we're utilizing payments as a conduit to data. Now, our argument is that arguably, if the club that you supported, arguably have supported your entire life, asks you for your blood type, you're probably going to give it to them. And what that evolves into is we are a regulated entity out of Europe and the UK, so giving us the ability to issue payments and debit cards through the app of the football club, and they pass that downstream to their fan base. And we're really using payments as a conduit to data. And we'll obviously get into the dynamics of how that works within a closed loop environment, which is spend inside a stadium, but also the ability to utilize that spend outside of the stadium and really gathering some really interesting data points which enhance the fans' experience, both from an in-game opportunity kind of in the stadium, but also wider, touching on some of the other points that kind of Moment Factory looks into, which is that global fan base that arguably never enters the room. So it's really holistically providing a solution that has multiple touch points, and there's something that's never going to disappear is day-to-day payments.
Javier, from a club perspective?
Hi all. So we're an 80-year-old club. We'll be 80 next year. So we're really focused. The sports side takes care of their own business with signing good players and doing what they do best. But on the fan side of the business, we are completely focused in our fan base. So we've done our homework segmenting each one of our fans. So we now understand better what they want, what they need. We have basically 4 big segments of our fans. We have the hardcore fan, we have the social fan, we have the expert fan, and the unconditional one as well. So we make sure that we communicate and we talk to each one of those segments with the kind of information that they want, that they need. So we are very thoughtful of those things, and also the fan experience from the assistant point of view, everyone that is coming to our stadium, and also everyone that watches our games on TV, we make sure that they have a good experience as well. And lastly, when there are no games and we have not a lot of things to talk about, we also are doing a lot of storytelling and a lot of information to this segment of fans, so we can take care of them continuously.
That leads me on to the question then. Are you seeing a different sort of fan coming to the stadium? Do they want more than just to be entertained on the football pitch?
Definitely.
Do they want more than they take their seat in their stands, they watch the game, they go home? Are you seeing from what you found as a club that fans want more when they go to a game?
Definitely. In Monterrey, you can see the listings for a weekend, and there's not only a Monterrey game, but there are concerts and festivals and a lot of things going on in the city all the time, and it's like that all over the world. So fans, when they decide to come to our game, they are looking for just more than just watching the game. So we make sure that they have a good experience from when they come into the stadium until the time that they leave. So yes, we are seeing that.
And Antonio, from your side, obviously part of putting those experiences together, it's a real changing sphere of what fans want when they go to a sport and entertainment venue.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we see this in Legends, we see the stadiums more as a theme park, right? So a lot of things are happening in the stadium. You have the games that are going on, so you have certain type of fans that go to the games. You see the traditional fans that go there with the families, with the kids, that they have a tradition, a passion for the sport, and they look for certain experiences. Then we see the new generations coming, more demanding. They are looking everything quicker, everything faster. They want to have these experiences at hand. So it's a combination of both. If we move to the entertainment piece, even into the tourist piece, because the stadiums are becoming more touristic places in the cities. Mm-hmm. You go to Madrid, and the example of Madrid is you see the Prado Museum, but at the same time, in your itinerary, you have the Bernabeu Stadium to go there, right? So they are becoming more and more part of this journey that the tourist visitors, and this is a very interesting target because they spend more, they want to bring memories home, they have higher per capita expenditure, so it's also very interesting on that side. And it's more a mainstream visitor. Really, it's not really a sport passionate visitor. We see visitors in the Bernabeu tour clearly, where around 75% are international visitors and 25% are locals and nationals. So imagine how big is the fan base. We see football fans, we see Real Madrid fans, but we see also people that are curious to know about the Bernabeu Stadium, the history of the team, the history of the stadium. No? So you need to combine many different targets with different messages, with different offering, and this is what is really challenging.
And Leisha, how do you go about telling that story then? How do you immerse the fan into the experience?
He just said everything for me. I think just to kind of recap on what you both said is that, what we like to say is that Moment Factory is bringing fandom to life. And the fact is that fandom never sleeps. But some stadiums do sleep. Some stadiums that haven't yet modernized are still, only operating within the 30 to 35 days per year, right? So it's really, really important for stadiums now to be expanding beyond what happens on the pitch during those days and offering new experiences to other fans. I mean, fans or tourists or people who aren't, necessarily fans yet, but can become fans. And so the way that we do that is by using underutilized spaces inside of the stadium to build attractions, ticketed attractions or non-ticketed attractions that not only attract the fans that are going to the games on non-match days, but that are also attracting new visitor profiles, thereby gaining new fanship for the club. And I think what's really important there is that we need to look outside of the traditional spaces and, for instance, use the seats, use the plaza outside, use the corridors the best way that we possibly can to create other modes of transporting the brand's story and the brand's values closer to the people.
And then, Nirav, coming to you then, people coming through the door,
Yep.
people coming to the stadiums, people coming to the experience means data,
Yep.
means access to information. What do you do with that and what does it mean?
So I think the starting point is, irrespective of the experience that you're going for, there's an element of payment always involved. And what we do is effectively create a data layer. So maybe taking a slight step back, the way it's done today from a digitization point of view, it's very fragmented within clubs. So we've kind of taken the stance of let's take a slightly higher look down, so you're looking at the entire ecosystem, and we're effectively connecting the dots. So a really good example of that is typically F&B tends to be outsourced in most clubs, so they've got their own way of reconciling the data that they hold. So we, utilizing kind of on top of the card solution that we have a data layer that can absorb all of the relevant data from all the various, be it the F&B stand, be it the merchandising, be it the online shops, and we can collect that and profile that and tag it back to a specific fan. So a good example is, and I'll give the Arsenal plug, I'm an Arsenal fan, so Arsenal know me as a fan. I've been a fan for a number of years. I go and buy myself a shirt, but then if I go and buy my 9-year-old and my 12-year-old a shirt, through the data that's captured, they know that there's 2.4 children within my vicinity effectively. So the marketing and the engagement that comes to me will be very nuanced in comparison to someone that doesn't have children, for example. And that drives into another element. So, and we go on the why are we doing it rather than the how. And the why is that bit that I said earlier. So you've got someone that's kind of entrenched and engaged in the club. So irrespective of what they're doing, they will provide you lots of data. Now, a key element of that being that clubs want that utilization of space, be it on match day or non-match days. So how do we drive more people into the stadium sooner? The challenge has always been a football match lasts 90 minutes. You've arguably got the hour before and tops half an hour, 40 minutes afterwards. So it's a very short time span. So it's about making that very engaging and intriguing. So the example is, Nirav walks into a game, 3 o'clock kickoff, probably around 2:15, buys himself a beer, inhales a hot dog at about 2:30, and does that consistently game in, game out. Now, game 3, game 4, we can now start engaging with the fan and say, right, if you get into the stadium an hour before, visit concession stand number 4, get 50% off your hot dog, and we'll give you a free beer. And even on top of that, half an hour later, push and ask me how that beer was. Do I fancy another one? So you see how you're kind of creating that engagement and really utilizing what is day-to-day activity and just providing the data points that can just enhance that experience.
And just going back to a conversation you and I were having just on the other side of this stage is at certain stadiums and where the concourse areas are small, actually it helps with the flow and actually in another way, makes the experience better.
Absolutely. The challenge there has been the space being the limiting factor. So arguably is if you can guide fans to go to specific concession stands, then that's the way you want to guide it. That typically to date hasn't been done very well. I mean, there's a few contributing factors, space being one, But the minute you've got the data and the availability of actually what are the fans buying and spending, you can then stock up and create the concession stands to be ready. And you can even potentially have pre-ordered drinks available, whatever it might be, so you can start managing the flow within those stadiums that don't necessarily have the kind of most up-to-date facilities.
Xavier?
Yeah, so that's very interesting because in our case, we have probably between 70 and 80% of our stadium are season ticket holders. So they are their habits are just very rigid, and they go and buy the same beer, they buy the same hot dog at the same time.
Yeah.
So the concessions probably run out of product, always the same one. But it's interesting for us because the space, we need to move people around so they can know that we can be more prepared with our inventory. We can provide new promotions and have people move around to other areas to provide an experience. So it's a challenge to do that, but information is just basically to have it. Yeah.
And coming back round to that experience side of things, in essence, is all of this from a club point of view about making your stadium more functionable more than 20 times a year or 25 times a year? Because obviously you're missing out on revenue by not doing certain things. You want to make your destination somewhere anyone can come any day of the year, not just on a match day. Is that largely where we come back to all of this?
Definitely. I mean, we are using our stadium probably right now close to 200 times a year. So that's 50 games, and the rest are corporate concerts, festivals, and some other stuff. Races, we do 10K races, we do 5K races, we do corporate events. So it's a challenge to have the venue ready for all these different kind of events to provide everyone with a good experience and have the data support and help us do better each time. Yep.
Leisha, what's needed to provide a good experience?
Lots of things, but
Money?
I think on the data side, I mean, we'd love to have more access to the type of data that you're able to collect. Because one of the missions from an experience side of things is to leverage the stadium's audiovisual outputs, the audiovisual and communications windows, to help drive people into the stadium faster, earlier, so that they can consume more, right, from an operations standpoint as well. And so if we had access to that data, we would likely be able to develop audiovisual experiences inside of the bowl where we're able to engage fans in a different way, make them part of the experience inside of the bowl. So not only driving them in to spend money at the concessions, which is really, really important, but give them another reason to be inside of the stadium earlier.
Yeah, I mean, just going on to the data point, for us, I mean, as operators, we are really deep operators. We see the data like in four big areas. One is learning, so it's going to help us a lot to learn about the fans, about the targets that we want to connect with, of course. Then it comes connection, engagement, and measurement. With these four, we can work and we can operate. It's a great tool to measure the customer experience, which is something that we are very focused on, understanding if we are exceeding the expectations that they have in the stadiums. It's also very important for us for the customer journey, so how we can connect with them before the match or the show or concert or the corporate event that we do at the stadium, during and after. This is critical. Also is enabling us for quick real-time connections. When somebody enters into the stadium through the turnstiles, you can have a push notification that tells you how to access easier to the seat. You can make an order for a 5% discount on a menu, then this could be delivered to your seat, which is something that we are working on. At the same time, you can also buy some merch, and then get delivered to the seats. All these things are great, to do with technology. For us, it's very important not only the data, but the software that you work with. I worked for years in Microsoft, so this is something that I know quite a bit, and it's very challenging how the systems talk, how you integrate the information. Also, softwares that can help to do venue management and see how you can optimize the rental of the spaces. This is also very important because at the same time, you can have a show and a concert, you have the tour going on, you have a corporate event, and it's very challenging. You need to define exactly how you're going to, it's like a Tetris, I call it. You need to connect and to see exactly how you're going to optimize the venue, in that sense. On the point that you were commenting on the multi-purpose venues, I mean, clearly, when we work with our clients, our recommendation is to develop strongly the non-match day business, clearly. I mean, sport is great. You have I would say, a mature business there, but developing the non-match day around 365 days per year, putting attractions, shows and concerts, corporate events, music and non-music events, and more things that you can develop is something critical, and this business, our view is that it's going to be one of the top 3 revenue streams for the clubs. Clearly would be an example of the tour, especially with top clubs, but also the corporate event business in certain cities could be very interesting. So it's also analyzing a little bit your competitive environment, but I think it's a clear opportunity as a revenue stream.
Xavier, something you wanted to touch on there?
Yeah, it's, for us as a club, it's very important to separate the sports side of the business from the experience. So what Leisha was talking about is really important for us, because if the result is not what we were expecting for, we need to take care of our fans and just provide them with a good experience. So if on the sports side we didn't do well, because sometimes you don't do well, we need to make sure that at the experience we always exceed our expectations, so we can have our fan coming back consistently. The new fans that come for first time to the stadium, they need to have a good experience so they can become a fan further down the road. So it's just critical for us.
Just to that point, and that's quite interesting. So going back to the data and the access to data, when you're using payments as a conduit, where that can get quite interesting is if you know there's certain experiences that specific fans that we've already got a profile on are spending outside of the stadium, be it, I don't know, you've got kind of the darts concept that you can do, kind of have a drink and do that side of it, but bring those experiences. So you know that there's certain fans that are already taking these experiences outside of the stadium, but that can help profile the experience within the stadium. So if you're consistently going to specific events, whatever it might be, and we've got that consistent data coming through, you now know that there's a subset of fans that will like and take that opportunity. So you can then convert that into dollars effectively within the stadium, right? So utilizing that space in a smart way, because the worst thing could be you organize an event and there's no uptake.
Right.
So it's kind of engaging the fan and really profiling them to understand, right, this is what they like. Let's use that and curate something that makes sense.
Yeah, that's, from my perspective, I think the biggest factor there is understanding the user's behavior, the fan behavior. Ultimately, the fan is the #1 client. They're the end client, so we need to know exactly what it is they want and do exactly what it is they want. But every fan is different, so we need to understand kind of those differentiating factors between the different categories of fans and serve them. And it takes different experiences to serve everybody.
Nirav, do you think clubs, governing bodies, stadium owners have been a bit late to start understanding the fan, or is it just because stadiums are more developed, technology's more relevant and available? Is that the reason, or is it just a case of, well, actually, fans have not really been thought about, and it's only now it's on the agenda?
I think there's a sense of that because if you focus it solely on football, it's, that tribal piece, your fans will come irrespective, and the minute you become kind of oblivious to engaging with them, I think there is a bit of that factor. But I think the other element is, look, digitally and technology-wise, the world's evolving at a crazy pace, but the way I've seen it being done in clubs is it's very disparate and very split. No one's looking at it from an ecosystem standpoint, because while you've got one entry point, there are multiple touch points from a fan engagement point of view. So you ultimately need someone within the club that's got that bigger vision that can kind of stitch it all together. So what we do from an Andaria point of view, while we're focused on the payments and data, we look at partnering, be it with the likes of Moment Factory, whoever it might be, that can provide those additional fan engagement elements to really build out the ecosystem. So to answer the question in point, I think it's a combination of a couple of things, kind of just knowing that your fan base is going to be there. Again, using Arsenal as an example, if 60,000 people don't rock up to the stadium, there's another 120,000 waiting on a waiting list, right? So you can become a little bit kind of blasé to the fact that I need to engage with the fan.
Maybe that was the word. Football, in some ways, has been complacent to it.
Yeah, and also adding to Nirav's comment, fans are evolving, and we have the new generations with a attention time span smaller every time. So we need to provide them with different experience consistently, understanding what they want, what they need. So there's a challenge in that.
To that point, and I'm sorry to interrupt, is what we've seen is younger fans, and actually, Antonio, to your point, are less about following the club, but more about following a player. Well, the experience of a player. So you kind of follow a player. A great example of that is Messi, for example, who, again, went into Miami, and all of a sudden, Inter Miami fans have sprouted up all over the world. So that's another kind of profiling of the younger generation, not necessarily being so club-focused, but maybe looking at a player and actually following a player.
Now, as someone who lived in Madrid for a couple of years and had many a visitor who wanted to go and do the Real Madrid stadium tour, I did it about 1 million times in the 2 years I lived there. I guess Moments Factory and Legends, you've devised something, and it's almost, I'd like to say, a game changer in terms of the experience the fan can get on the tour. I guess, Antonio, Leisha, do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean, from our side, I think when we work with Real Madrid, that we work in different lines of business in the stadium, we try to bring like our US experience in how we treat the entertainment, how we can really drive higher spending per caps. So this is something that we bring, but also bringing a little bit of my know-how in terms of how we manage theme parks and how we manage attractions there. This is something that we have been able to, commercialize, the tour in a way that is a little bit closer to a pure attraction, without thinking that this is in a stadium, from a commercial point of view. Also, we did quite a big shift in terms of focusing not really in Real Madrid fans, but really more in a mainstream target. Mm-hmm. So we open a little bit more the market, for the tour. I see this clearly as an example when back in the 2000s, when they were competing in the gaming industry between Nintendo and PlayStation, and suddenly Nintendo launched the Wii, which was more a mainstream product, more general. You didn't need to be really a core fan for the gaming piece, right? And then they opened totally a new market, and it was a huge success in terms of at that time the Wii. So I see that a little bit as this type of example where we really try to focus more in tourists. We try to deliver a certain experience, and this is why the product of the tour is going to have different areas. You have the museum and the tour where you learn about the stadium, but also the club. Also, you will have a skywalk. The skywalk is going to be more about knowing the city, seeing the sites, where you can go after the visit to the stadium. Moment Factory would speak a little bit now about the Real Madrid games and the interactivity with the fans. So, you need really to broaden a little bit your product in order to be able to deliver and to capture, all the different fans that you can have, right?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. We can't share too much, sorry, but the experience that we're building right now, the full Real Madrid experience inside of the stadium and outside of the stadium, and I'll tell you why, is really connecting the storyline around the history, the present, the future, in a sense, and connecting it with the city and the people in the city. So it's a very full, well-rounded experience. And so what we're doing right now, what we're calling Real Madrid Games, we're leveraging Moment Factory's augmented games, which are essentially leveraging all of the tools of the multimedia toolbox, video, sound, lighting, interactivity, which is a huge part of it, and we're building interactive games that are positioned inside of the corridors, which is a very, very tricky task. But, Antonio mentioned connected journey, and it's a complete connected journey in the sense that visitors are starting to engage with that experience from their homes, and they have the opportunity to build their personalized avatar. And it's a really, really fun experience from the moment they buy the ticket all the way through to, even further after they leave the site, because the experience extends beyond the walls of the stadium. So it goes back with them home. And what's really important about this experience is that it targets anyone who likes to play, anyone who has that inner child still inside of them, which I hope is everyone. And we're transforming the participants inside of that experience from passive participants to active participants. And that enables them to have a deeper emotional connection with the brand, to learn about the brand values, which are, I mean, super, super important to any club, to them especially. And there's a very strong takeaway, but the takeaway is remembered and transported outside of the walls of that stadium because they're able to play, because they're able to be active, and to create the experience themselves in a sense, right? They create an extension of the experience in a personalized way.
Just building on that point, what we see clearly, and it's not only in stadiums, but in the attraction industry, that the technology is coming, big time, really. You see theme parks, you see toll towers that we operate in the US, the most important toll towers, New York or Boston. We see that these immersive experiences, the AR experience, the video walls, this is something that is coming, and we have a lot of clients that are trying to look for these opportunities. We have in the AT&T Stadium Larry Jones AR experience there. All these things. Manchester City has an experience with Pep Guardiola. So these things are going and coming on, and the visitors really are eager to find these because they are going to be more willing to spend more and to have higher ratings in terms of customer experience.
Can I just say one more thing? Oh, sorry. It's such an exciting
first.
subject. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the partnerships word that's in the title of this event. So another really interesting thing about the experiences that we can be building is that we can target the sponsors, the sponsorship teams in particular, inside of the club, and break the mold of the traditional sponsorship package by including them in our experiences and giving them a permanent space in a sense where they can, generate their own brand message, but in the longer scale of the Real Madrid experience.
So just to kind of carry that point over, one of our challenges is typically a virtual card or a physical card at best is maybe your tertiary card at best now in your wallet. So our challenge is, why would I spend using the branded club card? So we want to peg that to money can't buy experiences, be it augmented reality, whatever it might be. Now, if points mean prizes, so every time you tap that card, it gives you the chance to enter into an opportunity with a Pep Guardiola money can't buy experience. As a fan of the club, you're inherently going to do that more rather than getting, 5% off your next Starbucks, right? Yeah. To kind of put that into a bit of context. So I think that partnerships element it just becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling cycle.
Sure.
Because one doesn't work without the other, and they can just
Absolutely.
kind of work in unison, which is really
And also
nice.
from the CapEx perspective, it seems that could be very expensive, but the flexibility that this technology is helping you to deliver in terms of how you can host corporate events, there is a interesting concept that is happening now in Madrid in the WOW, which is in IFEMA, that is really working with all these video walls, and the corporate event business is just booming, and this is something that we find because the companies are looking really to go to interesting places that really can have the right set of AV, video deployments. So this is something that, and from a CapEx perspective, again, is something that you can really get a payback quite soon. An example that I can put from the theme parks is that when you buy a roller coaster could cost you perfectly 5 to 6 million euros minimum. I mean, we're talking about the Harry Potter ones, crazy. But in this case, in order to change the product and not having to invest in more roller coasters, you put the VR glasses, and it's a different experience. The same roller coaster, you just change the content. We had that in Warner Park with Batman. So, I mean, this is some interesting ways really to try to change the product from the content perspective.
Just staying with you there, Antonio, to talk about one of the things I think you've mentioned in terms of the stadium experience is diversifying the stadium experience. You go on a stadium tour before, you will probably see the dressing rooms, you might see the director's box, you might see the press room, and you'll get to walk around the side of the pitch and you're out of there. And you look at some of the modern stadiums, so you've talked about the Bernabeu and what's going on there, but you look at Tottenham, you've got the Skywalk, they've got the Formula One go-karting experience underneath the stadium. What we're seeing now, and I think, is it in some ways the European clubs have looked at what's been done in the United States, the SoFi Stadium, there's obviously many others, but have actually looked at it and these stadiums have been turned into an entertainment place that offers more. So when you come to this Real Madrid experience that's being worked on at the moment, actually it's changing it from a traditional stadium tour where you see a few trophies, you see the side of the pitch and a few other bits, to actually something everyone can enjoy where you don't have to be a football fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, this is something that is more about the overall experience that you can deliver to the fan. The fans, I mean, they like to see relics and trophies, but I mean, a certain number of trophies is enough, right? They want to feel and to be part of the story. This is why this idea of the Real Madrid games is going to be so powerful, because you can really be part and be like a player with training, etc. Then you go to the skywalk. We are looking to have there some developments that we cannot tell, but in order to enhance the experience about Madrid. This is something that we are bringing a lot from the US, from our laboratories that we have in the different stadiums and venues that we see that is working, and we partner with different companies to do that. However, you know, it's something that we see like a very clear development, you know, in the coming days. And again, the attraction piece and the no match day would be one of the top 3 revenue generators in the stadiums, clearly.
Mm-hmm. To add to that US point, so it's that opportunity that as maybe a fan, may not be a fan, you may never enter the stadium. Now what we can do from a unique standpoint is offer, or taking a slight step back, all of the clubs in Europe are arguably looking at the States for pre-season tours. Arguably there'll be league matches being played in the States at some point, I'm sure. The point being, there's a growing global fan base that arguably maybe never enters the walls of the stadium ever. Now, we've got the ability to engage them through the payments platform in exactly the same way, so still gathering those data points, but now utilizing those experiences that could be, I don't know, a VR headset that allows you to walk around the stadium without actually ever entering the stadium. So it's, again, tying back that element of, right, how do we understand and profile the client? If we understand they're a Real Madrid fan, is then driving that money can't buy experience again. And you can see how this now starts not only connecting the dots kind of in and around the stadium, you can start looking at this on a global level.
Xavier, I just want to come to you. We've got a few minutes left. 2026, FIFA World Cup. Monterrey will host 4 matches of that tournament. What will having that event there do for you in terms of, first, obviously the experience, but also trying to bring, you know, new fans that might be visiting to your club? What sort of things can fans expect?
So first of all, everything that everyone mentioned, we as a club, we need all of this that you are commenting about, because the era of having one product for everyone is completely finished. There's no way that can work further down the road. So going back to your question, we are eager to do a lot of things, having the stage of the World Cup coming down to Monterrey, even though we only will host 4 games. We are making sure that our venue is coming up to the standard of the experience and the information and everything that is needed to provide the fans with a good experience. We will be having people from all over the world, hopefully, depending on who will be playing at our stadium. But we need also to upgrade to our fans that will be attending those games as well. They cannot be the same experience that they have for our club. So we need to upgrade that. And then the legacy that we want to keep for us is that the Monterrey Stadium, the BBVA Stadium, will be a much better experience after the World Cup. So
we hope England are there. Well, I do anyway. Right, a couple of minutes left. I guess a good place to wrap up is, Nirav, what's the future? Where does it go? You said a little while ago, data and the information technologies move so fast. So if it goes that fast, where could we be soon?
For me, it's going to be tailored that the fan experience will be so specific and nuanced to an individual fan that you will know what they like in terms of the type of player, what they want to see, the highlights they want to see, the angle they want to see it from. I mean, that's just a flavor of the fan experience. You couple that with the experience piece and actually profiling them in terms of what is their behavior, not only in the stadium, but outside of the stadium. So really taking that fan engagement, I think, to a completely different level. And I think without clubs kind of taking this holistically on board, those that don't participate will get left behind very, very quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leisha, nice open question. What's the future?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think, you know, we've seen this in music, we've seen this in fashion, where curators and creators are bringing in their fans, their people, to create experiences for the space or whatever the event. I guess in the name of a stadium or a sports venue, I think it would be really interesting to have the fans actually being brought in to consult on what are the experiences that they need to be seeing inside of the stadium or outside of the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, from Legends' point of view, I would say that the stadiums are going to become more a multi-purpose venue, clearly, because operating during 365 days per year is what makes sense, and to take profit out of the venue. So one thing, if they become multi-purpose venues, then most likely they are going to stand more as iconic venues in the cities, and probably there's going to be a division between the name of the stadium and the name of the club. Mm-hmm. So probably the stadium is going to stand more, I would say, forward on that direction.
I think we're seeing that happen already.
Yeah.
With Real Madrid.
Yeah, clearly. And then another point is about the fans and, you know, how the fans are going to evolve. I think what is always going to remain is the motivation that the fans have coming to a venue. So fans are looking for adrenaline, are looking for socializing, are looking for entertainment, are looking for memories. So we categorize the motivations in these areas. But the way that these motivations are going to be fulfilled is going to be different, according to how each club delivers the technology, makes the proposition, delivers the commercial packages. This is what is going to be different. But the motivations are normally the same, okay? Even the generation change. It's more the way that these motivations are being satisfied.
Javier, final word to you. What's the future? How could all of this benefit your club, your stadium?
So I think the clubs, the organizations, we need to evolve and understand that we don't only do a game or a sport. I mean, we do entertainment. So we're in the business of entertainment as well. So we need to understand that and have the organizations and the partners and the sponsors and everyone in the ecosystem just understand that if we want to become better and make a better business out of it, we need to see the whole package like they're saying.
It's all massively exciting. Thank you very much, Antonio, so much. Leisha, Nirav, Javier. Thanks to you, the audience, as well. Action-packed day ahead as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.